I want to be dazzled by the Xbox 720 or the PS4. I don't even know which one I'm going to get yet because I don't know which one's going to be better. That is what is so exciting right now about the new, the new generation of consoles coming, is that everything has just been thrown in the air. Nobody knows what to expect, not even the developers. And in terms of what game is going to be on top, no, I have no idea and nobody else does either. It's been leaked, though it remains unconfirmed, that Battlefield 4 will have 32v32 at 60 frames per second on the 720. Now, assuming that's true, and I honestly think it was probably an intentional leak, so I do think it's true, think about what that means for a second. Think about how incredible that game will be. And let me be very clear, if that were the case today, if Battlefield could run like that right now, I do think there's a very strong chance it would beat Call of Duty. But if Battlefield has big things planned, I bet you Call of Duty does too. And I'm sure they are more aware than anyone else that this will be the greatest threat to their dominance thus far, and probably for a while afterwards as well. We are at the end of an era, and the coming generation, the coming era, it will be defined in the first year. And Call of Duty will either stay on top, or it'll be a dog's race. I don't even know what you would call it. It'll be a dog fight and a cat's race, whatever. Now, if Call of Duty wants to stay on top, there are a couple things they're gonna have to do to step up their game. All right, I'm gonna lay out for you what my dream Call of Duty would look like on the coming consoles. All right, I'll start with the small stuff. Every cool minor thing that we have seen in Call of Duty so far needs to be there. All of it without exception, because they have enough memory to do this now. Whereas before they would have to choose between things like custom emblems and camos for the secondaries, stuff like that. I want the same in-depth leaderboards that Treyarch has brought to the table. I want all the gun camos back. Gold, diamond, secondaries, primaries, rocket launchers. I want diamond ballistic knives. Alright? I want custom gun camos. I want to be able to design the gun camo. I want face camos back. Those were cool. I want custom face camos. That would be neat. I want more customization options in general. I think it would be cool if you could mess with your soldier's physical build. It wouldn't affect the stats in any way, his abilities, but, if you could make him like a massive hulking bodybuilder type, or give him a more lean and cut look. If you've seen military men in real life, both those types do exceptionally well in the military. Women are now officially allowed to serve in combat roles. Wouldn't that be kind of cool if there were female character models with big boobies? I'd like to see a gore option. Now, obviously, with the ability to turn it off and on for the little kids, I want to see gore options, and I want to see ragdoll effects. So when somebody takes a grenade to the face, their body is thrown across the map and it leaves a trail of blood behind it. Alright? Now we get to the bigger stuff. And this is all dependent on the new engine and how good it is. The new Call of Duty engine. Alright? I want a semi-destructible environment, along with accessible vehicles the same way it is in Battlefield or Halo. And that's not to say they should replace score streaks. I love score streaks. All air support should have to be earned through score streaks, and they should have every score streak from every Call of Duty ever. They should have the recon drone and the AGR, napalm strikes, air strikes, Harrier strikes, helicopters, chopper gunners, AC-130s, all of it. But I think it would also be neat to have some Humvees with like mounted turrets, some basic vehicles that are still very vulnerable to explosive like rockets or C4. And they should throw in tank mines as an equipment, and you throw a tank mine on the ground and it destroys any vehicle that goes over it. And so, it's cool because it's a vehicle and it's got its uses, but it's balanced and you have to be very careful with it, and it takes skill to stay alive in the vehicle. Now, if Battlefield can triple the amount of players in a match at once and double the frame rate at the same time, can Call of Duty keep up with that? I'm guessing they can. Now, granted, frame rate won't be as huge an issue because after 60 frames per second, the difference becomes less and less noticeable. But what if they could triple the amount of players in a match so that the standard Call of Duty match was 18 on 18? Now, obviously, your first concern is that every match would just turn into the same sort of clusterfuck that Ground War is, right? Some people like it, a lot of people really don't. But the thing is, they could make the map so much bigger that the pacing could be on par with your standard 6v6 today. You would just have a lot more opportunity to do different and creative things within the match, which is basically what Battlefield offers, creative options. There's so many different ways to play the match, different customized classes on top of, you know, you can fly a helicopter, you can assault somebody in a tank, you can parachute, sniping, medics, engineers. All these very different and very unique experiences can be played out in the same match. That's what Call of Duty doesn't have, and that's why it gets repetitive, redundant, and boring. SMGs are how you play Black Ops 2. It's the best way, and if you want to do well consistently, it's basically the only way. You play with an SMG. Now, imagine this. Alright? You're in a snowy ravine. It looks like downhill, it's the shape of Turbine. Or Blood Gulch from Halo. You know, it's just a big ravine, but it's a lot bigger. At one end, you have an army encampment. At the other end is a sort of ominous-looking safe house. The safe house itself is like the size of Nuketown if you cut out the backyards. The ravine has a giant nuclear research facility in its middle. It's similar in design to the crash turbine in the middle of Turbine. It's just more sophisticated looking, you know, and it's an actual building. It's not a crashed turbine. It's got 2 or 3 stories. And then obviously there is just the croppings of rocks and pathways in the ravine itself surrounding the research facility. There's a series of caves built into the side of the ravine. And that series of caves is like the size of Hijacked if that entire map was inside. There's a very tall guard tower in the far corner of the map, and going up and down the ravine are cables carrying ski lifts with mounted turrets on them, and the power switch for the ski lifts is in the caves, and the caves themselves have a walkway that looks out over the entire middle of the map, and they can get long shots on people from that spot. It's kind of like if you remember that slit in the side of the mountain on Outpost from Modern Warfare 3 where people would snipe from. Now you're playing Domination. You have very tight, fast-paced action going on in the middle research lab where B is, also in the caves, SMGs and shotguns, and it's a bloodbath. And with semi-destructible environments, people they can't bring the building down, but they blow holes through the walls, adding this whole new level of tactical thought to the game. And when desks and computers with paper get shot up or blown away, they break into tiny pieces and smash on walls, and there's burning bits of ash hanging in the air, and debris and blood everywhere. Outside, there's smaller skirmishes going on in the ravine, medium-paced action with assault rifles. You have mounted Humvees that are driving in paths around the ravine, shooting at other enemy Humvees and trying to pick off kids through the rocks in the ravine. People are firing rockets at the Humvees from the ski lifts. The turrets on the ski lifts are laying into one another. There's another fight taking place in the caves for control of the Overwatch walkway. The team that controls that walkway controls the roof of the research lab, so their team can just blow holes in the roof of the research lab and drop through the ceiling on their enemy, giving them this supreme tactical advantage to capture and hold on to the B flag. You have 2 games of search and destroy going on. The first one is in the safe house, where a small handful of enemies has fought through the ravine to gain entrance to the spawn in an attempt to flip it and cap your home flag. You're trying desperately to hold them off, knowing that if you die, the spawn will flip. They will cap that flag and you will have to come cap it back. And they know that if they die, they will have to spawn back where they started. And everything they fought for to get here, to get across the map to this spawn, to capture this spawn, that all will have been for nothing if they die. The second search and destroy match is at the guard tower. Somebody has just thrown C4 into the window to wipe out the sniper who's been aggressively picking off your team the whole match. The C4 detonates and his body is flung through the window in pieces, leaving bloody smears all around the window in the multiple places he lands. There are attack helicopters and orbital lasers and predator missiles and big-ass mechs and all these score streaks earned, all wreaking havoc on various parts of the map. And so what happens is you can choose your pacing. You can choose really fast-paced clusterfuck action like Nuketown by going into the research facility. Or you can choose moderate-paced action like the kind you would have on Overflow, maybe by sticking to the ravine. Or you can have a more personal 1v1 encounter by attacking guard towers, or enemy spawns, or single buildings. You can choose your experience. I would kill to play that game, and I would die playing that game because I would not get up to go to the bathroom and I would not get up to go eat. I would starve in my own feces to play that game. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. This is Batman signing out.